Welcome to Curious Kids Every Day. I'm Josh. How are you doing today? It's so good to hear from you. I've got a question for you. Do you like looking up at the moon? My kids do. In fact, we say night-night to the moon every night. It's part of our bedtime routine. We say, "The moon, are the stars being nice to you today?" And we pretend that the moon says, "Oh yes, the stars are being very nice to me today." And then my boys say, "Well, see you, moon." And everybody laughs. When you look up at the moon, have you ever noticed that it looks different sometimes? In fact, the moon has a few different shapes, doesn't it? How many different shapes have you noticed? Do you want to know why it looks like the moon changes shapes? Even though it might look like the moon is changing shape, it's actually not. The moon itself always stays the same size and shape. What we're seeing are called phases of the moon, which happens because of how sunlight hits it and how it moves around the Earth. The moon doesn't make its own light. It shines because it reflects light from the sun. That's the only reason we can see it. Put your hand into a fist. Let's pretend that's the Earth. And now use your other hand as the moon. What does the moon do? It circles around the Earth. Just like the Earth goes around the sun, the moon goes around the Earth. As the moon moves in its orbit around the Earth, different parts of it catch the sunlight and bounce it back towards us on Earth. When the moon is between the Earth and the sun, the side facing us is dark. Can you go get a piece of paper and a marker? Go grab one, I'll wait. Okay, draw a picture of the Earth. And next to that, draw a picture of the moon. And next to that, draw a really big picture of the sun. Since the moon is not its own light source, it only bounces light off of the sun. When the moon is in the middle of the Earth and the sun, we can't see the moon. There's no light reflecting off of it to us. It's the side of the moon that we can't see that's bright. That's what we call a new moon. A few days later, we see a little sliver. We call that a crescent moon. Can you say crescent moon? As more of the moon becomes visible, we get a half moon. That's when we can see half of the moon. And then when we can see the whole thing, we call that a full moon. That's when we can see the whole bright side. After that, the moon starts to appear smaller again. This is what we call waning. Can you say waning? It goes from a full moon to a half moon to a crescent, and then back to a new moon when we can't see it at all again. The whole moon cycle takes about 29 days. That's almost 1 month. So the moon doesn't change shape. It's just the way light and shadows fall on it as it moves. You can even track the moon's changes every night and draw its shape in a notebook to see how it transforms over time. Pretty amazing what you can learn from just looking up, right? Let's have a quick quiz. Does the moon make its own light? Nope, it reflects sunlight. What is it called when we can't see the moon at all? We call that a new moon. And do you remember how many days it takes for the moon to go through all of its phases? About 29 days. Let's play true or false. True or false? The reason we can see the moon is because sunlight bounces off of it. That's true. True or false? A full moon means we can see the whole lit side. That's true. True or false? The Earth revolves around the moon. That is false. The moon revolves around the Earth. And what does the Earth revolve around? Yep, the sun. Do you know what this sound is? Yep, it's crickets. The sound of crickets reminds me of a beautiful dark night when I'm looking up at the moon and noticing its shape. Here's an interesting question. Would you rather travel to the moon or travel to the sun? Assuming that it was safe to travel to the sun. I think the moon is beautiful, but man, if I could travel to the sun, that sounds so interesting because the sun is so big. It would be cool to see it up close. Do you remember what we call the different looks of the moon over a month? Phases. They're called the phases of the moon. And what are those 4 phases called? Do you remember? There's the phase of the moon where you can't see the moon at all. Do you remember what that's called? New moon. There's the phase of the moon where you can only see a little bit of the moon. That's a crescent moon. There's the phase of the moon where you can see half of the moon. That's called a half moon. And then there's the phase of the moon where you can see the whole moon, and we call that a full moon. Thinking about the moon makes me think about astronauts, and I have a fun game. I looked up different foods that astronauts can eat in space and which ones they can't eat. So I'm going to quiz you. Do you think that these are foods that astronauts can eat in space or not eat in space? Are you ready? What about freeze-dried ice cream? Yep, they can eat freeze-dried ice cream. What about spaghetti with meatballs? Nope, that would be too messy up in space. What about tortillas? Yes, they don't make any crumbs. Ooh, what about popcorn? That's my favorite food. Nope, popcorn is actually a little dangerous in zero gravity. What about peanut butter? Yep, astronauts can eat peanut butter up in space. All right, let's play planet or not. I'm going to tell you the name of a planet, and you tell me if that is a planet in our solar system or not. Are you ready? Jupiter. Yep. Vulcan. Nope. How about Mercury? Oh yeah, that's the first planet in our solar system. What about Krypton? Nope, that's a pretend planet in Superman. What about Neptune? Yes, that is a real planet. Last one, what about Zebulon? That does sound very spacey, but no, that is not a planet in our solar system. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 space objects, and you tell me which one is bigger. Are you ready? Which is bigger, the moon or the Earth? Yep, Earth is much bigger than the moon. What about Mars or Jupiter? Definitely Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. What about the sun or the moon? Yeah, definitely the sun. How about a comet or a planet? Definitely a planet. One more. What about Earth or the International Space Station? Yep, it's Earth. The moon might look like it's changing shape, but now you know it's just sunlight and shadows doing a little space dance. The moon is always there, it's always the same, but what we see changes depending on where it is in its journey around the Earth. It's a good reminder that just because we can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. That's why even if I look up at the night sky and don't see the moon, I say, "Night night, the moon," because I know it's still there watching. What kind of question do you think we'll ask tomorrow on Curious Kids Every Day? I can't wait to find out. So until then, keep asking questions and stay curious, kids. And for all the grown-ups listening, please tell other grown-ups about this show and visit CuriousKidsEveryday.com to get a free printable with activity ideas that don't involve screens. Those are the best kinds of adventures to have. That's CuriousKidsEveryday.com. See you tomorrow.